All right, 2025. Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year.
We're back. We're excited to be back with you. We have had a very interesting past couple of weeks, very slow, forcefully slow past couple of weeks, not just because of winter break, but we all got hit with the flu.
I didn't.
All except for Jeremy. Somehow he escaped through the flames.
Standing strong here.
But everybody else, our kids have never had the flu before. I can't remember the last time I had the flu. It was brutal.
Yeah.
Having that many little kids down sick while you yourself, the nurse and caretaker, when people get sick, is down was just awful. And it happened the day after Christmas, so we were just left with like Christmas stuff everywhere, Christmas things everywhere. Yeah. And so we're still, when I say we, I mean me, I'm still coughing a little bit, hence the flu. Sorry.
It was really intense.
It was no joke.
The kids were going down like dominoes, but Audrey was pretty consistent. You and Ember were both pretty consistently sick. Yeah. For about a week.
Yeah.
So I was, doing all the things and administering all the medicine and cleaning up, and also we're still like have boxes from moving back into our home unpacked. So in the cleaning up of Christmas and holidays and these parties we've done, we use it as an excuse or opportunity to continue unpacking, which is super silly that we're not unpacked, but it's just it's hard. It just lingered. Yeah. So I'm hoping we get a real big bite of the spring cleaning bug. And
this year was the fastest that we took down and put away Christmas. It's not even fully picked up.
Yeah, the day after I took down the tree, because I just didn't want to deal. I didn't want to walk around it. I don't want to look at the lights. I just want it out of my. That
was also primarily because we're going to go to Sun River. Yes. And we had to get it down and out before then. And
we knew that wasn't happening. But I'm in the decluttering mode right now. I'm like, I want my closet to be 80 to 90%
You and every
gone.
Other overstimulated mom.
Yeah, well, good. We're on the same page. So we're going to start with some Connect card questions.
Anyways, hope you guys had a good Christmas. Hope you guys had a good winter break. Hope you guys didn't get sick like us and what seemed like half the country when I posted on social media. But it was crazy.
It worked. There's beauty.
The flu this year was wild.
There was beauty in it for us. It worked.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry. It sucks. Yeah. It was bad.
Coming from someone who didn't get it.
Yeah. Okay, first two questions I pulled. What's one thing about my character that you respect?
Integrity.
I was going to say the same, of course, but...
About me?
Yeah. You are you.
Is that integrity, though?
That's integrity. Integrity is truth, to live the truth, to walk out the truth.
I think of the definition as like differently kind of for you, but
that's what drew me to you in the very beginning was I couldn't figure you out because you weren't trying to be anyone. Therefore, there was no preconceived package or bucket I could put you in. The only option was to dive into the deep end and get to know the soul that has been named Audrey. Mm-hmm. So it
wasn't that deep in your 19-year-old brain, but
no, but that's now I have the words I would say to unpack what was true. The integrity of that experience was that I'm like, who the heck is this soul?
Mm-hmm. I would also say your curiosity, like your just desire to always learn, because there's so much that is wrapped up in that. Because of your desire to constantly be learning and being curious, it keeps you humble. It keeps you asking questions. It keeps you intentional with other people because you are always wanting to learn because you have that curiosity. It gives you the opportunity to have a lot of experiences because you had that curiosity, because you're brave to enter into places that maybe you wouldn't go because you want to learn because you have that curiosity. So I feel like a lot of it stems from that. Yeah. Like a lot of the other good qualities about you come from that desire to always be learning and growing.
Yeah, thanks. Okay, I'll come up with another one. I was going to say...
You don't need to come up with another one.
Maybe your drive. Like when you say you're going to do something, you just do it. And that's also ties into the integrity of like...
I feel like you kind of also hate that about me.
It can get frustrating, when you're on the wagon, bumping around, pulled by whatever your drive is, but...
No, I more mean like, Audrey, just let it go.
It's also tied into like your integrity though too, like even with like silly stuff, not silly, but like sponsored post stuff. You won't share something unless you've genuinely tried it.
Brand partnerships.
Brand partnerships, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Like there's just this like you won't bend in any of these areas. That's integrity, I guess, but it ties into drive because you do a lot. But okay,
Good. Like that. Thank you.
A more fun one. How would you survive a post-apocalyptic world?
How would I? I would lean heavily on you.
I was just gonna say that's when I get in the driver's seat.
I would be grateful that I'm married to you.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah.
Here's another good one. What are 3 things on your bucket list?
Well, how would you survive a post-apocalyptic world?
The
Sweet talk your way through things, negotiate.
No, the first and foremost. I mean, Survivor. Like when you watch Survivor.
Yeah.
What's the currency of Survivor? And it's all a facade.
Communication, talking,
trust. Like that's.
Yeah. Okay.
That's kind of the current. You live and die by trust, which you can't have without community. And so post-apocalyptic world, if you think you're going to be the man on the mission to do it all, you're done. So you need to lock in on who's going to be on your team. And that's when maybe there's no communication. Like I have a ham radio for this exact reason. Just communication. If you need to be able to call, have someone that you're communicating with, and like you each have separate skills. There needs to be some
people don't know what a ham radio is.
Yeah, they do, Audrey. People know what a ham radio is.
People like me don't know what a ham radio is. I know because of you. Said, but what is it?
It's just like the bandwidth of, it's just, it'll work if the grid goes down. You need to have like a license to be able to transmit to.
Do you have a license?
No, but I started the process. But
how do you have a ham radio then?
Because you can listen on it. You technically. Oh,
you can't.
There's
talk.
a level and there's a bandwidth that it can access that you can't tap into unless you have a call sign and you're trained in communications, because it's reserved for emergency type stuff.
So you can only listen right now.
Yeah, so I could turn it on and listen to like some stuff and. Because it can, but hey, if it's a serious post-apocalyptic situation and all grid EMP happened, all grid goes down, no, phones are useless, they're just cute cameras at that point, and you need to listen to what's going on. Someone will be transmitting on a ham radio channel somewhere, and I printed a list of what these channels are, so at least I can like tune in like a monkey, like listen to 1048, because then I can hear the emergency.
This is different though than
like nuclear cloud waste toxic gas is spreading over Portland headed west, and then I know like, oh my gosh, we got to get underground. You know what I mean?
Yeah, into our underground bunker that we have.
Listen, the apocalyptic scene has already happened. It's just not what we thought it was. It's not, guns and tanks defending fortresses.
Not I Am Legend.
It is awareness and unawareness, consciousness and the unconscious. It's the plugged into the matrix, and the NPCs, as I said a couple channels ago, and the agents that are alive,
the characters,
aware,
what are those NPCs?
And willing to be used,
non-primary
and animated by source, by God, like Holy Spirit animated vessels. Like I do think there's a big, and whatever, people use a ton of language to bucket and classify and characterize all these things, but like the sifting is happening right now, and I know many, many people feel it, sense it, and are aware to it. And it goes back to what I was talking with just over breakfast this morning. Anyways, okay, that's done. We're done with that. That's a fun conversation. I could do a whole podcast on like, what would we do? How would we do it? Post-apocalyptic world situation. But all right, what are we going to talk about today, babe?
So today we thought it'd be fitting, since it's a new year, which honestly, guys, I'm not a big New Year's person.
Yeah, I want to say something.
Yeah.
I have always felt like my New Year's is my birthday. Like that.
Same.
I have the
honestly, same.
The momentum, the energetic, pent up, get my life figured out, start new. It's always been my birthday.
Well, and also that's interesting for you and me, because you have a spring birthday, I have a summer birthday. It's much more aligned, conducive to a time of the year when you're just like energized, motivated. And I would say September also kind of acts as another new year, just by nature of summer ending and big season shift here in Oregon, but also like back to school and all of that. Now that we have kids. But November, or whenever January 1st rolls around, I'm like, oh, can we just like for 2 more weeks stay in Sun River, because usually we're in Central Oregon, and I just get really extra sensitive and frustrated by whatever I'm seeing on social media. And I actually wasn't on social media. I kind of just not even really planned, but like we got the flu and I was just off, and I decided to take an extra week off. So just for a couple weeks I was off. And when I came back, I was like, I just remember every year, I don't like being on this time of year because it just feels like such a grind. People are just so in the grind, and it's just not a time when I want to grind. It's like a time when I want to decompress and reflect and read and learn.
It's like the middle of winter. It should be that though.
Yeah. And I feel like, especially here in Oregon, like where we live, it does not feel like a motivating time. And so anyways, but we're not going to talk about New Year's goals and all of the resolutions or anything like that today. We're going to talk about something that's really, really helped us live more intentionally the whole year. It's not a New Year's specific thing, but it might be helpful for you to do this time of year to set you up better for success going into the rest of the year. So
I just want to, it's so interesting though, because like the middle of winter is supposed to be hibernation.
Yeah.
But then we like draft up all this like New Year's energy and we like pull it out of the ether and try to like create this momentum when it's the natural mental momentum that happens in springtime.
Yeah, absolutely.
Spring is rebirth, new beginnings. I mean, the earth is turning over and we feel that energy, and this is why we're spring cleaning. It's just like you get this energetic burst to like come into the world and clean and get your life figured out. And it would make a lot more sense that was the new year. And I was watching a few things on Insta Reels, got me intrigued. And so I went down a rabbit hole. Oh gosh. And I remember going down this rabbit hole maybe 5 years ago, to be honest, but the whole Gregorian calendar adaptation and where it came from, the Chinese calendar and all this stuff. And how it would make a lot more sense if there was 13 months of the year, because every single month would have 28 days, you know, and then
it'd bring a lot more order.
There's a lot of cosmological astronomy associated with there being 13 months of the year.
Female cycles
run on a 13-month. Every single day would be the exact same day of the month the entire year. So planning would be a breeze and no problem. There's no math to do. Nature and the earth promote all cycles, point to, and identify that as being a more logical time mapping for the human experience to go off of. Yet we're like off of it. We have chosen a different way. And I think, you know, it goes in line with
the enemy.
The entire like Satan
confusion
as this like, or the enemy as this word that we're using as the agenda behind that is to separate souls from God. Yeah. It's to keep us separate from God. Whereas the opposite would be heaven, would be, you know, and angels and all the good side, the terminology and words we use to point to the good side would be union with God, oneness with God, wholeness with God. And so those are the two camps, heaven and hell, right? And it's just interesting that the world seems to constantly and forever has adopted and continued to adopt these things that very subtly just disorientate us a half degree, because you don't notice it. But 2,000 years down the road, you're so far off because you've been walking a half degree off track for so long. Same thing with the tuning standard, right? I think all musical instruments used to be tuned to 432 hertz, which is a natural resonance frequency. But in the 1955, I think it was 1955, don't quote me. Sorry. It was changed by Rockefeller officially after spending, I think at the time, like $1 billion in propaganda and messaging and all this stuff. They changed it to 440 hertz. Super subtle. And most musicians don't even know this. I was on a fishing trip 2 years ago talking to a musician about this, and I was like blowing his mind, because I'm like, bro, you haven't thought about why do you tune your instrument to 440? He goes, I've never thought about that. I don't know. It's just what it is. I'm like, well, why is that what it was? And has it always been that? Anyways, another big rabbit trail. But when everything is vibrating. Quantum physics has proven that everything is energy vibrating at a certain frequency. Like this is why glass over time actually sags, right? Because it's technically liquid to some micro level. Anyways, So tuning to 440 is incongruent to the on some cellular level, our frequency, if you will, or whatnot. And so it's one of those like half degrees off types things where it's just on a cellular level, there's disharmony versus 432. There's something about it that's really harmonious in the body. Like it's one of those divine dance.
You can listen to that music.
Yes, you can. Yeah. You can literally listen to music that's tuned to 432. Some people
do the experiment.
Some people with a really trained ear can feel on an energetic level like, oh yeah, that my like the rhythm of my heartbeat is more aligned with that.
I wonder where my uncle. Have you ever talked to my uncle about
this? I haven't. Of course, I don't talk to your uncle, but like for me, when I'm grounded, I can feel it on a cellular level, and I've tested it right with the pad being anyways in or off. Like I've trained my body to be able to tell. That's kind of like how some people have taste notes where like they're tasting stuff. How can you have 42 different tastes of a coffee bean? Like I just taste coffee because I'm not trained.
Right.
I don't know the subtleties and the, you know what I mean?
Wine and
it's like, anyways, quick little rant, but everything matters. And I think this is what Jesus was pointing to too in scripture when sorry, babe, I'm going off.
Oh, it's all good. It's really good and very, I think that what you were saying about the months thing was just how you got onto this, because we were talking about something that's been like a practical thing that's helped us bring order to our years. And we've talked about this conversation a lot about if the calendar year was 13 months.
Yeah. I'm like,
and
it makes so
really
much
would
sense.
just bring it would make moms' lives so much easier, because like every month would start with the same weekday, would start your period would be on the same day of every month. You could not plan things on that day and plan a lot more things on the days when you have more energy. And you know what I mean? It would just make so much less confused.
There's probably some reason it's not, and I'm ignorant to that.
Right.
Why? But I don't know. I mean, at some point, everything needs to be reassessed, right? Like science is never settled.
Right.
What was I going to say? Oh, Jesus. So like Jesus, he points to when they are questioning him or whatever about idolatry or whatever, he says, you don't need to commit physical adultery with someone. You just need to think about it. Mm-hmm. So he totally raised the standard of reality.
Yeah.
And that is, it starts in your thoughts. And again, this is what quantum physics has proven is the material seems to be an effect of a result of the mental. And this is like the double split experiment that was done again, way back in the 70s or 80s, seemed to prove that the observance of material changes the effects. In other words, there is an unlimited, infinite amount of potential that exists in the quantum field, and it only renders once observed. That's what that experiment proved, and we've been kind of trying to really wrap our brains around the reality of that since. Yeah. And I think a lot of quantum physics is starting to put science to what a lot of spiritualists have been trying to communicate for literally centuries. They just didn't have the data, tools, equipment, or language to convey it. So they used what? Myth, story, tradition, and these innate intuitive knowings of the human. In the same way a mom gets pregnant and has a kid, their biology kicks in and is able to teach them things that they were never taught, but they just kind of know how to do it. Yeah. Well, on a human level, the closer we get to base reality, we have intuitive knowings of like, we are souls, we belong to God, and anything that, there's this, but I'm stuck in this matrix, this world that's keeping me separate. And once you see it, you're like, holy smokes, like Jesus was, he had it on lock. He was cooking more so than any other. Like he was really able to, through parable and story, communicate a much, much deeper truth that now we have a lot of science and different language to validate. Anyways, so good. I love it. It's like, it's crazy, but it goes
you
to,
always explain that so well.
It goes to make you realize like your thoughts matter. Like they are building reality. It starts here. And we need to elevate into the mind of Christ, as Paul called it. And like, that's where we're tuned and we're tapped in, and it's not the ego operating, but it's Holy Spirit operating. Yeah. It's so good.
All right, Christmas is over, but Memories of Christmas is on sale right now for 20% off. It is not too late to get this beautiful 25-year heirloom Christmas Memories book to encapsulate and keepsake all of your family's favorite Christmas stories, traditions, recipes, memories, photos, and Christmas cards through the years. This is such a treasure. And you can start it this year. So I just got done filling out our 2024. It's a place to put your photos, tell how you spent the Christmas season, what you did Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, gifts you gave each other, and then Christmas card and photos here. So simple, it repeats every single year. There's some space in the back to put in family recipes and some space in the front to write, to fill in like your family's old photos and traditions that you had from growing up as kids. So this is such a special book, something that you can pass down to your kids. It's 20% off right now. You can get it at beating50percent.com. We hope you guys love this tradition. We know you and your families are going to cherish this book for years to come. Yeah, it's good.
Speaking of which,
it's great. It's good. It's great.
How can we get our families closer to this harmonious heartbeat of love and value-based, God-pointing, life-living, directional trajectory? Yeah. And we have found an incredible way to do that through the Family Values Planner. We've tried a few different ways over the years, and they kind of were overwhelming or didn't quite hit the mark or work for us in this pace of our life.
Yeah.
Until we went to the Post Hotel a few years ago. We did 2 or 3 nights. Post Hotel is a wellness retreat up in Leavenworth, Washington. Amazing. We loved it. And coming out of there, we kind of isn't that right? That's where we had this.
Yeah, that was the first time we decided to align it to the 12. So
yes, we added like 4 or 5, which at the time kind of felt, sorry, I interrupted you. No, at the time kind of felt more overwhelming, but in the last 3 years, it's made a lot of sense.
Yeah. It's basically we have, since before we had kids, had our family values that we had sat down and made, and they've kind of existed, but we haven't really done too much with them until we've had kids. And to be honest, until we had kids that were old enough to really like teach and instill these family values into. So until Ember's like now true. 5, 6. So in the past couple of years. And so we were just really feeling like, gosh, we have these family values, and we even have them like printed and hung up in our home. And I even had Jared's favorite artist design them into this really cool art piece to hang in our home. And like, we talk about them with our kids, but there was not like a really good way to implement them with our kids. And I felt like I was feeling like I needed to teach our kids all of them all the time.
Yeah.
I felt this pressure to want to instill all the things that matter to Jeremy and I, and that we want to program our kids with all the time, instead of, and what I wanted was a more attainable way to do that practically, not just some ethereal sound good thing, but a practical way to be able to like teach our kids our family values in a way that made sense and brought order to our life. And so that's where the 12 came in. So we had 10
because we found a practical way.
Yeah. And some of our good like marriage parent mentors, they do this. So they have 12 and they're aligned to each month of the year. And so it just makes it so much easier when you have one thing to focus on as a family a month, and you're like, let's just let this be the thing and nail this thing versus trying to do all the things. Yeah. And so it also gives you a lot of freedom. Like, for example, 1 month for our family is home and hospitality. So we tend to, during that month, say yes to a lot more hosting and gathering and having the random person over and letting inviting someone who so happens to be at your house late, if they want to stay for dinner. And it's just kind of this unspoken yes between Jeremy and I that we're going to do it because we know it's the family value for that month. And it gives our kids an opportunity to for us to have a constant conversation about it because it's something we're always practicing. So, as roll-offs, we want to be people that value our home and are hospitable. Yeah. And so we give them little mini opportunities to do that. And what were you going to say?
I was going to say, and it of course doesn't mean that that's the only month we do it.
Yeah.
It just means we only have to focus on it for 1 month. And that's the mental unlock, I think, for us was, we this is a teachable moment for this month, and it'll span the course of the year. Even in October, I'm going to say, remember, roll-offs are hospitable. That's why we're doing this.
Right.
Because it correlates back to the month where we like intensified the learning experience, the programming for them. So each month, each value is correlated to a month of what we would call intentional programming for our kids. But that programming is obviously a software that we live off of for the whole year.
Totally.
If that makes sense.
And we created this digital resource. It's super cheap. You can get it on beating50%.com. It's called the Family Values Planner. And it is a resource to basically help you come up with your own 12 family values, come up with little mini definitions for each of them, little scriptures that you want to match to them, and like practical things that you want to do as a family to implement that value. That is what this does. You do not need this to do that, right?
Yeah.
Like you could do your own version of this. We just thought this was so helpful to us and our family over the past 2 years of using our family values this way, that we wanted to create a resource for you guys to be able to implement this with your own families, because it really does just make you feel like you have this blueprint guide going into the year of what to focus on. And it brings so much relief and freedom that like, okay, my kids are learning these things. Like our 3-year-old, even just something as simple as like at the dinner table every single day, I ask the kids, what's the family value for this month? What's the family, literally every single day at the dinner table. Yeah. What's the family value for this month? And they all say it in unison, right? But now they're getting to the point where like I could ask our 3-year-old, hey, what's the family value for August? Not only is he like learning his months, but like he'll be able to tell me, you know? And so I think just even that, like the simplicity of that, them just knowing that there's a focus for the month is super helpful. So we're going to talk about like how we did this a little bit practically, but I wanted to read ours just to give you like a actual clear picture of what they are. So just really quick, January is wonder and learn. February is love and communication. March is holistic health. April's prayer and Sabbath. May is nature. June is create and play. July, bravery. August, home and hospitality. September, family friendship. October, integrity. November, gratitude. And December, Jesus. So we came to those by having a much bigger list of all of the things that we valued and kind of hunkering down. But also one of the main ways that we came to that is through asking a bunch of questions, which this is really like the crux of the Family Values Planner. Like one of the most helpful things is this sheet of questions that will help you discover your own family values. So by just spending a date night, or for Jeremy and I, it was a weekend away.
2 nights,
But we like to tell people a lot of times, like if you don't have the time or you're not in the season of life where you can spend a weekend away, or if even a date night is hard, on your next car ride, okay? This is like, I always say like car rides are such a great time, right? The kids are buckled in the car seats, especially if you're in the season of life that we're in. Print this out. And it can be a great time while one of you is driving, you know, you're not on your phones, you're not distracted, to go through these questions and answer some of them.
Okay.
And they basically will help you.
Yeah. And I want to make this super clear.
Yeah.
When you download this, I know it looks like a lot probably right here. This is in the packet. We give you our exact example. So you will be able to see this and go, oh, interesting. That's what they did. Mm-hmm. We do not want you to do what we did. But it's helpful to have an example, because it's hard to go where you can't see where you're going. Yeah, so this is where you're going. This will help you figure out what these are for you. Mm-hmm. And then in the back, there's the blank sheet that you will write or type yours into and print off. Mm-hmm. So just want.
Yep. And we also give you your own PDF, so you can blow up your own version and hang it in your home somewhere if you want to too. You can put in your own. We also help you come up with your own family mission statement. So not just the values, but the family mission statement, which is another critical piece. And I actually found that for us, wouldn't you say this is probably true? Like it was easier to come up with the family values first and then write our family mission statement, because we had all the values.
Your values will write your mission
build the
statement.
Sentence.
Yeah.
And
we have it laid out like that here, where you do this and then you have and it's just a 2-sentence, like, you know, every company has a manifesto. Every sports team has a tagline or whatever, or whatever it is, the quote hanging up in the locker room, something to like drive them towards and be, what are they about? Your family should have one too. And that's kind of the point.
Again, just for example, I'll read ours. Here's the roll-off family mission statement. I really should have this memorized, but roll-offs, our kids are like having memorized. Roll-offs: live bravely, love learning, practice gratitude, and get outside in pursuit of living a life in harmony with God. We lead with integrity, ask questions, and are intentional with our thoughts, health, and relationships. So it really encompasses most of our
I think
family
it's a little
values.
long. I think we could cut it, maybe a sentence just to get it. But one of the things in here is where is it? Practice and pivot. So like, there's a lot of pressure to make these things permanent, but like practice and pivot.
Yep.
So just do it, get it done, and then you'll adjust, you'll pivot, you could change it. We've changed ours enough times to finally have created this, which we have loved for the last 3 years.
Yeah.
And
in the back of this, we have a whole list of resources and recommendations, which are like books that we read with the kids that align to the certain values, music that we listen to, YouTube channels that we watch, podcasts that we listen to. I have this other category called other. So like one of my ideas for you guys is like, okay, upload an audio of you reading kids books that align with each of the month's values to your kids' creative Tonys. That's an example of something you could do. Download the app All Trails and find a hike near you if one of your family values is nature. Download and print out the 1,000 hours outside tracker if you're doing that with your families. This is our 6th year.
Yeah, and
it's doing the 1,000 hours outside, and that aligns to our nature value. That's a free thing, and so it's just an easy little ways that you can implement.
This is worth
these values into your life. This alone, honestly, like took me a lot of time to put all of these resources together.
Well, it's worth the money just for this resource list. Like, and we put the value to each thing. Like, for example, under music.
And these are examples, obviously. They're not going to be your values. So
I know, but we're just it's super helpful. Under music is "It's a Beautiful Day" song that I don't know if you know that viral song of that like African kid who had that song and then a lot of people were remixing it or whatever. And one of them I just loved. And so I always played it with the kids. And it's a song about gratitude. Lord, thank you for sunshine. And, thank you for pain. Thank you for sunshine. Thank you for rain. Thank you for joy. Thank you for pain. And the concept of the song sung by this little kid is heart of gratitude, a posture of thanks, no matter what. God is all. So it's like, how can you, there is no need to not be grateful. And so we have that under gratitude. And that's a song that we play all year, but specifically during that month because it just programs like it could be whatever, but like posture, heart of gratitude is the goal.
And that's another thing I'll say about the specific months to the year. So one of the things that this will help you do and that we did that we also felt like was really helpful was we actually intentionally chose what month to what value. So like May is nature because it tends to be in Oregon the time of year when we are so desperate to be out in nature again because we've been so deprived of being inside all year, all winter. January is wonder and learn because it's a time where we're inside a lot, learning and together and wondering about things. And December is Jesus because Jesus is the focus of the month. November is gratitude. July is bravery because it tends to be a time where we go outside and we run around and we are active and doing all these different things. So I would encourage you when you're coming up with, after you've developed your own list of family values to actually map them to months of the year that make the most sense for how your family lives. Some other things that you can do that are just like easy, simple things like aligning meal planning. Maybe during, like for us, Nature Month, we have a picnic, Home and Hospitality Month, we have someone over. We try during Bravery Month foods that maybe the kids don't always try, like being brave to try something new in that sense. So there's a lot of good examples and ideas in here. And then I wanted to read some of the questions for you guys, just in case you're someone that's like resistant to downloading the resource or you don't want to get it or whatever, but you're listening to this podcast with your spouse, or maybe you want to re-listen to it with your spouse. Here's the questions that we think be the most helpful to ask when you're nailing these values down. So what do we hope to teach others just by being ourselves? What is something we really wish more people understood? What phrases or sayings do we find ourselves repeating a lot? What do we spend a lot of our money on? What are some things that drive us crazy about other families that we do not want to emulate? What do we hope people might say about our family after having spent time with us? What did your family really value when you were growing up? Ask each other that question. What is a life giving to our family and brings us the most joy? How is our family uniquely positioned to bless and serve others? How do we prioritize the most, or what do we prioritize the most as a family? What are some words or phrases that people who know us well have used to describe our family? And what are some things we still want to be doing in seasons of survival mode? And so these questions, honestly, like if you can answer these questions together, I really do feel like you can easily come up with your 12 and then align those to the months of the year. Again, we feel like this has just been a way that's brought order into our home. It's been very, very helpful with young children, and our marriage mentors that have done this for years, they have adult children who like still remind them of their, oh, it's whatever month. Like Jamie, she was just telling me one of the kids came home. I forget, one of their family values was like family first or something. And it was the month, and it was that month. And one of the kids was away from home or whatever, but he prioritized like flying home to be home for the other kid's football game or something. And he got home and he was like family first, and they're like still practicing those family values and finding their own ways to creatively implement them. And he's 22 and 17. Yeah, the younger one's 17 or whatever. So yeah, anyways, it's just cool to think of how these things will be instilled in our kids as they get older and how they'll practice them rather than us just teaching them to them, which is the season of life that we're in right now. So anyways, we hope this can be a helpful resource for you guys. Yeah, take the idea and run with it. But if you want to grab it, it's at beating50%.com. I think you can go to, beating50%.com, and it's on the home. It's all over the site. So it'll make it super easy and set your year up, and then let us know if you do it. We love seeing it. It's always fun to see how people modify it and what they come up with or what they do. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. What do you feel like for you has been the most helpful about it? I would say versus like before we had peace of mind. And what I mean by that is like when you don't have a plan for something, you're subconsciously always frantically grasping to accomplish the thing. Mm-hmm. But so it's like am I doing this as a dad? Am I doing this? It's like, okay, no. We have a plan to instill a lot of values throughout the year. Mm-hmm. So I can just shut that. It's no longer noise in my brain. Mm-hmm. It's like, oh, there's a plan to do it. So I just thought of this one like little example because next month is love and communication for February. And I was just thinking about Ember and, her mail system. Yeah. And like, this is just, okay. We have 4 kids. So it was a lot to keep track of like their own unique individual needs and wants and desires and interests and all of it. Okay. And so sometimes, a lot of the time, I feel like, oh gosh, this one kid I know would really benefit from this, but I just can't get the time, right? Yeah. This one kid, I really want to take camping, solo camping trip, but I just can't find the time, right? But Nature Month rolls around, right? Like it gives you kind of an excuse to prioritize it. Okay, so we have this one kid, now it's going to be obvious, but who created this mail system in our house where she made a mailbox outside of everybody's door. Her own. She does stuff like this. She disappears for an hour and a half, and the next thing you know, there's a mail system with rules written out, on paper. Yeah. Her favorite thing is like scraps supplies that if I throw anything away. She doesn't ever want us to throw things away, which I'm in the mode right now of like get the Dropbox from the garbage company because I'm getting after it. Okay, go on though. Go on. Anyways, she's got this mail system, and Jeremy and I always are like, after we put the kids down to bed, we're like, oh gosh, we got to write Ember a note. Because she's so good about putting notes in everybody's mailbox at night. Every couple days. And then we can kind of tell, like, she gets sad when, like, people don't notice that there's mail in their mailbox. They don't read it. Or she didn't get any mail in her mailbox. Like, we didn't do it. I mean, I do decent. Anyways, I was just thinking, like, as I was reading through, like, February is coming up, love and communication, like, every day, what an easy way, like, for me to choose in February to say, I'm going to, because I know my daughter needs this and would desire this, and it'd be really filling for her. I obviously can't do this all year, all the time, right? Yeah. But I feel like I'm lacking I'm not doing the mail system the way that, it would really make her feel loved. So what if for the month of February, I put a little note into her mailbox every single night? And I just said, I'm going to do that this month because it's a way for me to love and it's a way for me to communicate. And I mean, just to get super logistical about it, like you could do 7 at a time. Just sit down and write 7 every Sunday. Right. And then
so
just like have them
it's
batched.
done. It's done. You have them batched done.
But like the reason I thought of that was because like there's a lot of things like that you guys can probably think of with your own kids that your kids do that make them, that your kids want to do that make them feel really loved, that probably would align to some sort of value that you have, but you don't do it because you feel like I can't do that all the time. There's no system or structure for it.
Yeah, it's.
But if you just knew I only had to do this thing for this month because it's going to be the focus for this month, like I could do that for Ember for this month, you know?
Yeah.
Like right now, what you've unintentionally kind of been doing this since the past couple of weeks, but like every night we sit down for dinner and you're like, what's a question for daddy? This month is Wonder and Learn. And so it's like, what do you guys want to learn about? What do you guys want to know about? And I don't know if you're necessarily doing that because of this month family value. You just kind of started doing it a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, I should tie it into the family value, but I've just been doing it because
it fits. You could just tell the kids like, hey.
Well, yeah, and also
if
kids aren't engaged at the dinner table, they leave.
Yeah.
Or they want to get up or they fidget. But if they're like if I start a sentence with like in any sort of story tone, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just eyes on daddy. And I know, oh my gosh, I have their attention and they stop fidgeting. Why? Because they're being engaged. So it's so funny, these little like tools that we can forget about so easily because we're so caught up in our own, you know. That's really the game.
Totally.
Tuning in, like when you can like tune in to whatever bandwidth these kids live at, this level of consciousness, which is very tied to the presence, which is why I think Jesus said to the children belong the kingdom, because they only live in the now, which of course is the only thing that exists. And so it's like when we do come down and we are right there with them, not only is it some of those joyful moments of my life, but it's just amazing the level of communication you can have with these kids when you're not talking to them from a level that they can't, like even time. Even Bodhi has no idea what time is, but we program them what time is by teaching him what time is. And so it's interesting. The natural state is like time doesn't exist because it doesn't.
But they
time is a construct of the brain that we use to navigate society in the world. And obviously there's cosmic cycles. And so it is a thing, but it's not this thing we roll through. It's this thing that rolls through us. And that's, I think, one of the things children can teach us.
And it's funny because we forget that they don't really understand or know what time is. Like they're kind of learning now or older too.
Yeah.
But like Radley all the time, he'll say like, Mom, next day, can we do this? Next day. That's his thing lately. He'll be like, next day, can we do this?
He's learning that there's now.
He doesn't really know like.
But he's learning that there's now something in the future that doesn't exist yet. But his mind can kind of like reach through a window and know that like, oh, I can look forward to things.
Yeah, right.
He's starting to get this time. But I think
as a 3-year-old,
as a 3-year-old, that's crazy. But it's crazy to see that time is learned. And again, I think one of the big unlocks is we are real. Time is the facade that passes through us. Time isn't real, and it's not that time is real and we're running through time. It's the opposite. We are stationary and real, and time is running through us. I know that might sound convoluted and like, okay, Jer, like, shut up with the nuance. No. For me, it was a profound, like, whoa, big, huge wake up of my mind's position in reality and how it all unfolds. But in children's one of the lessons they've taught me.
Yep.
So
that's good. Okay, well, Happy New Year, you guys. Hope this can help you ease into the new year with not a bunch of resolutions or goals or hit the ground running stuff, but just a date night activity for you or your next car ride to help bring some attention to your year.
Values for the family and declutter. That's it. That's us.
Yeah.
That's what we're doing.
And then we're going on a ski trip with 4 young children.
Well, yeah, we're doing that, but hey, we almost quit. We almost canceled it.
We did not learn.
We almost canceled it. We're getting better. Okay. Happy New Year.